Imagine you have never seen water that doesn't end. Your entire life, every river, every lake, every watering hole had an opposite bank. Water always ended somewhere. That was just how the world worked. And then one day you climb a rocky cliff on the southern coast of Africa, and you see something that breaks every rule you've ever known. Water stretching so far it disappears into the sky. No far side, no opposite bank, just infinite, moving, roaring water in every direction. And it never stops moving. What does your brain even do with that? This actually happened. We know roughly when. We know exactly where. And archaeology has preserved what came next. What came next changed the entire course of human history. The site is called Pinnacle Point, a rocky headland on the southern coast of South Africa, jutting out into the Indian Ocean. In the cliffs there, a series of caves face directly out to sea. Archaeologists excavating those caves found something extraordinary. Evidence of continuous human occupation stretching back 170,000 years. And what those people left behind tells us exactly what happened when humans first encountered the sea. Here's the context that makes this hit differently. 164,000 years ago, the world was in the middle of a glacial period. Most of Africa was cooler, drier, increasingly hostile. Inland food sources were shrinking. Rivers and lakes were drying up. Populations were collapsing. Some researchers believe the entire human species may have been reduced to just a few thousand individuals, a genetic bottleneck so severe that almost every human alive today descends from a tiny group of survivors from this exact period. We came within a thread of going extinct. And then some of those survivors walked to the coast. What they found was unlike anything their ancestors had ever encountered. Shellfish, mussels, abalone, sea urchins clinging to the rocks in enormous numbers. Protein-rich, calorie-dense food just sitting there. No running, no hunting, no danger. You just had to know when to collect it. And that's where something remarkable happened. Shellfish can only be harvested at low spring tide, at new and full moon, which means these people had to learn to read the moon. They figured out that the ocean retreated on a predictable schedule connected to the shape of the moon in the sky, and they timed their harvests accordingly. 164,000 years ago. No calendar, no writing, just observation, memory, and the ability to teach the next generation what they'd discovered. That's not survival instinct, that's science. And the food they were eating changed them. Shellfish are extraordinarily rich in the omega-3 fatty acids, iodine, and DHA that the human brain specifically needs to develop complex neural connections. Researchers now believe this marine diet may have fueled a cognitive leap, the jump toward abstract thinking, symbolic behavior, complex language that made modern humans what we are. The ocean didn't just save us from starvation, it may have fed the brain that made us fully human. Because alongside the shellfish in those Pinnacle Point caves, archaeologists found chunks of red ochre, iron oxide pigment, deliberately ground and shaped. Engraved geometric patterns carved into stone, evidence of heat-treating rock to make better tools, a process that requires understanding that controlled heat changes the molecular structure of stone, not obvious, and requiring experimentation across generations to figure out art, ritual, technology, all appearing together in caves facing the ocean 164,000 years ago. The sea didn't just feed them. It seems to have woken something up. Now, think about what it actually felt like. You've spent your entire life in a world you could mentally map. You knew where water was, where food was, where danger came from. The world had edges and patterns you'd learned since childhood, and then no edge, no boundary. Just endless moving water, waves hitting rock below you with a sound like nothing you'd heard, a smell that has no name yet because nothing in your world smelled like this before. Modern psychologists call the feeling you get when you encounter something incomprehensibly vast awe. Studies show awe triggers a specific brain response. Time slows down, the internal monologue goes quiet, and the mind enters open, absorptive attention. The same feeling people report at the edge of the Grand Canyon or under a sky full of stars. Researchers found that awe makes people more curious, more cooperative, more willing to connect with others. The first humans at the ocean almost certainly felt this. And what they did with it, what humans always do with something they can't explain, is they watched it, studied it, built a mental model of its patterns, turned awe into knowledge. And then they followed the coast. Once they discovered that the ocean's edge was an endless supply of food, they had a reason to keep moving they'd never had before. Follow the coast, and you never go hungry. Researchers call this migration route the kelp highway, the rich coastal ecosystem running from Japan all the way to the Americas, providing a continuous chain of food that guided ancient humans step by step across the entire planet. Genomic data suggests the Americas were colonized between 24,000 and 15,000 years ago by humans who followed this exact coastal corridor from Northeast Asia. The entire human colonization of the Americas, how your ancestors ended up wherever they are right now, may trace back to one group of starving people who walked to the edge of the world and found the ocean. One moment, one cliff, one group who didn't run. They watched it carefully, figured out its patterns, ate what it offered, taught their children what they'd learned, and followed it for thousands of years and tens of thousands of kilometers until there was no more coast left to follow. The ocean saved us when we were almost gone, and then it carried us everywhere. Next time you stand at the edge of the water and feel that thing, that specific feeling of something too large to hold in your mind, that's not just you. That's 164,000 years of memory. Your brain recognizing a place it has been before. A place where someone in your ancestry stood for the very first time and decided to stay.